Good afternoon, good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Sorry for the frazzled look, but I got up late and the humidity is insane. So, as usual, my hair is mushrooming up. So, if you see all this glorious frizz back here, and my ugly bug, sorry about that, but kind of nothing we can do. Welcome to another episode of Spilly Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels. We're going back to that horrible world known as the JRC. But before we do, if we could take a moment of silence for those of us who followed the whole Captain Corey thing. Looks like he's preparing for his final journey, if you get what I'm saying. So if you can take a moment, if you're not religious, just send good positive vibes towards his family. I actually am. And I'll show you. I've got this going in a vigil. Those of you not Catholic, know nothing about Catholicism, this is a Sacred Heart of Jesus votive. And I'm going to keep it burning until it goes out. Kind of stand as a vigil thing. No, not all of you are religious, but yeah. Welcome to another episode of Tiffany's Too Much TMI. I do got that burning for him and his family right now. By the way, in case you don't notice, I may criticize Christianity, but I feel like someone who does actually have faith, that when you see something very wrong, when people are using it as a shield to protect themselves from their own horrific deeds, like agape, which we'll get to in a minute, you should be the first ones to be calling them out. Not the last, not giving excuses, not brushing it under the rug. You should be the first. Hear me on that, all right? All right, moving on to the disclaimers, right? In the description box, folks, you're going to find the link to the article that the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center doesn't want you to read. It's written by NeuroClastic, a small non-for-profit started by autistics for autistics, wherein they interviewed and surveyed over 900 ABA professionals in regards to the JRC so-called behavior modification program. Matter of fact, the JRC doesn't want you to read this article so much, they've threatened NeuroClastic with a defamation lawsuit if they did not remove it from the website. Well, folks, NeuroClastic has refused, so you know the drill. Please read that article and share it on all your social media. Also included in there is NeuroClastic's public statement regards to the defamation lawsuit threat, as well as a link to their GoFundMe. We are crowdfunding, folks, in case the JRC actually sees through with their threat. Also included in there, the Ozarks first article in regards to the Agape boarding school, now known as Stone for Help boarding school situation, a so-called Christian-themed boarding school, folks, based out in Stockton, Missouri, that takes in so-called troubled male teens, that has impending over 21 civil lawsuits, claims, and allegations leveled against it, all which have been substantiated by the Missouri Department of Social Services, and they include the following: sodomy, rape, sexual assault, child abuse, psychological and emotional abuse, child trafficking, starvation, and folks, that's just for starters. You have one former staff member arrested by the FBI, another a doctor still on the premises with full access to the boys, up on multiple, again, substantiated claims of sodomy, rape, and sexual assault of the boys there. You have an attorney general too busy chasing after drag queens and failing to defund public libraries to actually do his job. And you've got a governor. What can one even say about my governor that hasn't already been said? All right, send help. Please read that article. Share it on all your social media. Also included in there, the link to this analysis that was done by Dr. Fredda, as well as Autistic Hoya's massive archive on the subject, Jennifer Masamba's behavioral sheet of shockable offenses, a clip out of the 7-hour ordeal undergone by Andre McCollins back in 2002, the templates, and the very ever-present self-explanatory Change.org Shut the Judge Rotenberg Center Down petition. When we discuss the JRC, folks, you're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips of surveillance footage of peoples with disabilities being tortured and abused. If you got young children present, folks, please go ahead and use those headphones, all right? Right, this channel is marked not for children for a reason. We use profanity and we speak on dark subjects. If your child is 16 and younger and they are watching this, very obviously parental supervision is very much advised, all right? Okay, trigger warning. This channel is marked not for children for a reason. We use profanity on occasion and speak on dark subjects. If your child is 16 and younger and they are watching this, folks, very obviously, parental supervision advised, all right? All right, now, if any of you want to be an idiot and comment on my clothing today, I don't care. I live in Missouri. It is stupid hot, all right? I am not going to suffer because of some people's false sense of modesty, all right? Nothing showing. Deal. Sorry, but Bible Belt, I have to deal with this crap. Where we left off last night, review of educational program and environment. In general, an eliminative approach is used at JRC. An eliminative approach views behavior problems as maladaptive or interfering actions that make it impossible or difficult for the individual to learn. The goal of this approach is to decrease and eliminate those maladaptive behaviors before new adaptive responses can be targeted. Meyer and Evans, 1989. And the behavior problems are regarded as the highest priority goals. So, folks, we're not talking about stimming here, although that they do try to force that in ABA, because for some bizarre reason, they've got the idea that if I am stimming, I'm somehow incapable of learning while stimming. Actually, the opposite is the case. When I'm stimming, there's excess energy, whether it's happy, negative, or what have you. If I am not allowed to stim when I need to stim, that is going to be infinitely more distracting from my ability to be able to learn than just allowing me to do it and get rid of that excess energy. So I am actually able to concentrate on the lesson ahead of me. But again, one day when the JRC is a footnote in history, we are going to crack open the horrific vault that is ABA. So let me put it bluntly for you folks. The founder of ABA literally basically said that we aren't human. Literally said that when you see an autistic person, you have the basic makings of a person. Eyes, ears, nose, arms, and legs, but they're not really people. So we must break them and reform them. If you don't see the problem there. Yeah, and they will try and tell you, but we've moved away from that. But folks, if you read the most recent handbook, they haven't. But we'll get to that one day, hopefully. Maybe when I win my millions, you probably would see me, because let's face it, I'm stubborn. You just might not see me on Twitter anymore. In this approach, typically little value is placed on the quality of the educational goals and objectives. One of the obvious problems with this approach is that the focus becomes the problem behavior and access to those events, educational activities, and environments that would promote more adaptive behavior are put on hold. Thank you! Thank you. All the JRC focuses on, all they're geared towards is to the behaviors. So explain something to me. When all that you're geared towards is towards behaviors, how am I supposed to expect that you're giving a quality education? Because you even gear your education plan around the behaviors. Who the hell does that? Okay? If you want a kid to go out there and succeed in the real world, especially if they're talking about disabled kids, education should be the same as those of our neurotypical or otherwise abled peers. Don't gear my educational plan around the behaviors that make you uncomfortable. It needs to be the same as everyone else. I need basic math at the very least, history, literature, you name it. You cannot do this insanity where you gear even your education all around the problem behavior, because you end up with an extremely stunted education, which is probably why the JRC is no longer an accredited school, if they even were in the first place, and why kids coming out of that program have to go seek a GED. Sorry, I got thoughts. I got a lot of thoughts. One obvious problem with this approach is that the focus becomes the problem behavior, as we stated. Many times it is the absence of the more constructive environment and activities that is the major contributor to the maintenance of this behavior. Who the fuck thought? Sorry, trigger warning. Again, we curse. I'm sorry, but that just came out of me, and I'm not sorry. Jesus. In contrast, the educative approach suggests that the major purpose of education is to encourage adaptive behavior through participation in meaningful daily experiences. And the most effective strategy to reduce problem behavior within these meaningful daily experiences is to replace it with a skill that accomplishes its function for the individual. So yes, here's the thing, folks. Do we need some accommodations? Do we need to find ways to use the traditional educational setting as a means and a way to help us with our other issues? You bet. That's one of the best ways to do so, if you do it right. But if you gear everything, including the entirety of the educational plan, on nothing but focusing on the behaviors, and you get by with your state by having us identify a triangle. This helps me in real life. How? But if you notice, their educational plan seems to be that which does not prepare these kids for the real world. It prepares them from sheltered workshops. And we've already gone over those on my channel. If you're new to the channel, if you go into the description box, you're going to find a link to where it mentions the Employment First Initiative. There's a link to all of my all my videos in regards to the shelter workshops and what the problem with those are. So if you want to take the time to look at those, that will give you a full idea as to why that's a bad idea. It doesn't help anyone survive in the real world. But moving on. A review of X's daily schedule does not reflect access to meaningful daily experiences. Exactly. Nothing the JRC does in any way, shape, or form leads to actual growth and development. When you have to earn the right to go out in the community in order to practice your social skills, it defeats the purpose, folks. I'm sorry, not sorry. Know what I'm saying? When you gear your educational program to the point that everything is focused on the problem behavior, to the point you start removing their ability to participate in said education in small ways, such as loss of privileges, where you're not allowed to ask a question unless a direct staff addresses you. How's this supposed to help with education? When you are basically giving them the equivalency of an education that is going to prepare them for a lifelong dependence on other people, when you minimize it to focus only on the behaviors and you do not teach them new living skills, cooking, budgeting, being able to handle their own medical history, speaking to doctors, and don't give me the crap. They're nonverbal. They can't speak for themselves because I've seen it done. Work the field, spare me. All right? The point is, when you read through this, you see the common sense and you see what it is that JRC does. It literally boggles the mind with how backwards they are. All that matters to them is the behaviors. And we must stop them by any means necessary, no matter how much we stunt and damage this individual human being. Because after all, they're getting theirs $258,000 a head every school year. We're going to close out on that, folks. We don't get very many views on this channel. The few that we do tend to get removed from time to time. So if you could, folks, please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe, and don't forget to hit the comments. I do appreciate your time. And folks, as always, we here at Spilling Tea hope you have a good one. I will see you next bit. Bye-bye, everyone.